Hello. Welcome to the Her Money Mindset Show. I'm Stephanie Wonkel, and I'm thrilled that you're here. Here we talk all things mindset, from finding the hidden strengths and setbacks, learning how to bounce back quicker. So if you find yourself in the middle of a money setback, maybe a divorce, job loss, or bomb business, you're in the right place. So today I want to kick things off with a foundational topic, something we'll talk about all the time. And let's start with a question. Are you in control of your thoughts? Can you choose your thoughts and change your money situation? Think about that as we talk more about it. So here's an outlandish idea that I learned. And when I learned it, it literally changed my life. The idea is that your thoughts are actually optional. You have a choice, you control them. When I heard this, I thought that is not true. My thoughts, those voices in my head, everything my brain tells me is the truth. But that is, in fact, not the case. You know, those thoughts that jolt you awake at 3 a.m., screaming that your business is tanking and you're a hop away from ruin? They morph into this whole big deal if you let them, and I let them. These come with friends. That gnarly feeling in your gut, the twisting and the turning, or maybe for you, it's a heavy weight on your chest, making it hard to breathe. Here's the thing, though. It boils down to the fact that consciously or not, our thoughts spark those feelings. And when we ignore them, they just keep popping back like that whack-a-mole game. That's exactly where I found myself, resisting, pushing, because honestly, feeling that way, no, thank you. But the more I resisted, the worse it got. I tried everything, tried to talk myself down, pretending it was all good. Spoiler alert, it was not good at all. So here I was, having poured over 2 years into my dream, a family business, only to lose it, along with my home and hundreds of thousands of dollars. So night after night, like clockwork, at 3 a.m., anxiety decided to move in for good. And with all my years as a tech leader and a real estate investor, I had had many ups and downs, squatters, eviction nightmares, but this was a whole new level of knockdown. And I had no clear path back up. So driven by sheer desperation, I dove headfirst back into everything I knew about positive psychology, neuroscience, and resilience. I read endless books on bouncing back from failure and tackling anxiety. I had to get my sleep back. I had to confront that sneaky thief that was showing up at 3 a.m., my thoughts. So what are thoughts? As humans, we give meaning to our situations through our thoughts. And our thoughts are really just our sentences in our head that constantly run through our mind. I think the statistics says we have over 60,000 thoughts a day. These can be things we realize, like I suck with money or I'll never save enough to retire. But more often than not, we are not even aware of these thoughts. They're just running in the background like a program. While oftentimes we can't change our situation, like losing a job or a business or even a divorce, we can change our thoughts about them. The main cause of problems is our thinking, not the situation. I promise you. I know it doesn't seem that way. It's how we're thinking about the situation. For example, it's not losing your job that's the main issue, but it's the thought, I'll never find another job that good again. It's the thought about it, because there could be someone on this planet that lost their job and their thought was, thank goodness I am now free to do whatever I want. So that just tells us that the issue is with our thinking, not necessarily the situation. Our thoughts create these emotions in our body. They create that gut-wrenching stomach turn, pounding of the chest, and those feelings generate what we're going to do next. They are what generate and create our actions. So if you're thinking something like, I'll always be in debt, you might feel hopeless. And why would you even try to do a budget if you feel hopeless? Differentiating our thoughts from our situation is so important because situations are facts. Thoughts are merely opinions. We control our emotional lives through our thinking. And again, our thoughts are optional. We create our lives mostly with our minds. We often believe our stories so deeply that we think they are facts, and they're not. It's fine if it isn't causing pain in your life or problems, but many of our stories and thoughts are painful and even debilitating. Obviously, with my story, my thoughts at 3 a.m. about being a failure, losing my business and my money, they were painful and causing me problems. Let's dissect this a little bit. So I told you a little bit about my story. So the facts of my story are I had a business. I had been working on that business for 2 years. I sold that business. I worked that business with my son, and I invested hundreds of thousands of dollars in that business. And here are just some of my thoughts as I was in the midst of selling the business. My thoughts were, I lost the business. My thoughts were, oh, I can't believe I gave up 2 years of my life. I threw away 2 years building that business. I can't believe I lost our family business and lost that dream. And I am a failure because I lost hundreds of thousands of dollars. I'm never going to be able to retire. I'm never going to be able to take care of myself. I'm going to be homeless. I mean, it went down, down, down. So these negative thoughts felt very much like the actual circumstances. But when I strip out all of my thoughts and my feelings, there are actual facts that are neutral. They're not positive or negative, and they're based on the thoughts someone is having about them. So 95% of our thinking is actually unconscious. And when we learn something, it creates a very weak neural pathway in our brain. But when we repeat it and add emotion to it, it becomes more and more unconscious and effortless. So when I first say these thoughts to myself, I'm a failure, I'm going to be homeless, they're kind of weak. But as I unconsciously repeat them in my brain and I feel stress and anxiety about them, they dig deeper grooves in my neural pathways and they become more and more unconscious. So as these negative thoughts were on replay over and over in my head, I was just strengthening these pathways, making the thoughts more and more unconscious. Kind of like a snowball that starts at the top of the hill and goes down and just grows and grows, collects more snow, and effortlessly rolling down the hill becomes bigger and bigger. That's how it makes me think. So all problems are simply thoughts. There is no problem if there's no thoughts. That doesn't mean that we don't want things to be problems. We just need to recognize that we cause problems with our brain, and therefore we can solve them with our brain by changing the way we think about them. Isn't that empowering? So we can control this suffering that we're putting on ourselves. This thought is life-changing for me personally. If it's new to you, you may be thinking, if that's not true, it's weird, it's woo-woo, but there's actually a lot of neuroscience research that backs this up. And we'll get more into that research in other conversations, but maybe just let it sit and give the idea a chance. Because if it is true, it means you are the captain of your ship. You control your life. You control your feelings. And ultimately, you control your actions and your results because they are not driven by a situation. They're driven by your thoughts about the situation. And those thoughts are optional. We get to choose them. Isn't that wild and great? So this leads me to thoughts about money, which I've been talking about with the examples. But if we focus in on money, there are so many thoughts and emotions that go with money, especially when we consider it a negative situation or what I'm calling a setback. Our thoughts about money are these old programs in our brain from childhood. These thoughts come from our parents, friends, society, maybe where we grew up. It's important to understand that these thoughts, because they might be stopping you from making more money. They may be stopping you from overcoming your financial setback. If you think money is bad, or if you think that rich people are bad, you likely aren't going to want to do things to bring more of it into your life. You and I have secret stories about money that are quietly guiding all of our money decisions. What if I told you that changing a simple shift in the story could help you make more money, spend it smarter, and be better at investing? Your money story, or the thoughts you have about money, is a big invisible book that holds all your thoughts and feelings. It tells you how to use money. It tells you what jobs to pick and how you feel about saving or spending. This story comes from the things you learned, and it sticks with you. So one of my money stories growing up was that more money equals loneliness. And how this played out for me is I grew up in a family that was middle class. We were very comfortable. We weren't rich by any means, but we did have things. And one of the things we had was a swimming pool in our backyard. Even though it's cold a lot of the time because I'm in Colorado, my mom worked very hard in her job. She worked long hours and she wasn't around much. And I remember asking her one day why she had to work so much. She said it was so we could have nice things like the swimming pool. And to be honest, I didn't even really like the swimming pool. It caused me a lot of chores. I had to clean it. It wasn't heated, so it was super cold. So I didn't even really like to go into it. And it in my mind, I'm like, I would rather have you, my mom, around more than have the swimming pool. Right then, I started to believe that having money means you have to work really, really hard and you won't have time to spend with the people that you love. And that made me so sad. I had a lot of emotion about it. So you can see how if I think I have to choose between having things or spending time with people I love, I likely won't be doing things to bring more money into my life. I think I'll ultimately be alone. If I think that, I'm not going to want to attract money or generate money or create money. That thought isn't really true. Having more money doesn't automatically mean you're going to be alone. It's just the thought that I had. And we know it's not true because when we look out there in the world, there are plenty of people we know who have lots of money and nice things, and they're not alone. In fact, they have loving relationships all around them. So money is just money. And I realize money's just a thing. It's the stories we tell ourselves about money that makes us feel happy, sad, scared, excited, anxious. Money is just a tool that we can use to create the life that we want. So, how about you? What's your money programming? Are you in control of your thoughts? The answer to that is yes. You most certainly decide what your thoughts are, and you can choose your thoughts. You can choose your thoughts about money. Can choosing your thoughts change your money situation? And for sure, your thoughts can change your situation. And here's how. Here's how you can just play with a few of these things and see how it works for you. But first of all, just start to recognize these thoughts and beliefs that you have about money. Think about what you learned about money growing up, what kind of phrases your parents said as you grew up about money, like money doesn't grow on trees or those types of things. And are those beliefs and thoughts still in your head right now? And are they helping you? So becoming conscious as you think about your money situation just means becoming aware of your thoughts, judgments, and emotions that you have. And the best way to do that is to write them down. Write down the thought, I'm bad with money, and notice what your judgments are about that, and notice how that makes you feel. So write them down as they appear. Some thoughts might seem innocent, but actually be very painful. Thoughts like, I deserve better, might seem empowering, but check your emotion with that. Check what that feeling is creating, because often it can be a feeling of resistance and pain. That's why it's very important to write down and then try each one individually. You don't try to change it right at first, just write it down, because this exercise may be overwhelming. Seeing all those thoughts and feelings might feel heavy. Allow yourself to see them and feel them, not worry about changing them right away. Once you separate your facts from your thoughts, it's inaccurate to say, I was devastated when I lost my job. It's more accurate to say, I was devastated by what I thought about losing my job. These might seem like semantics or changes in words, but they matter. When we realize that our minds cause our feelings, we can be more in control of our emotional lives. It doesn't mean that we won't choose to be sad when we lose a job. We most likely will. But it does mean we can decide not to be mad when something much less significant happens in our lives. And so that brings me to the next tool that you can try, and that is decide. Deliberately decide what your thoughts are. This is a choice. First, we choose a new thought, but we can't stop there because we have this programming that has deep neural pathways that I talked about earlier. And so not only do we have to decide and make a choice to introduce a new thought, but we have to repeat it because we've been repeating those old thoughts. And the only way to overcome that programming is to repeat the new thoughts and create new neural pathways. A new thought can be programmed if you're willing to commit to the mental process of rehearsing and start believing this new thought. And the next thing I want to say is have patience. Your mind likes to be efficient. So once it has been thinking this thought over and over, the same patterns over and over, it's resistant to change. So if you're trying to change your thought patterns, you'll need to practice patience. It doesn't happen overnight, and it takes work in that it takes practicing the new thinking. Otherwise, you're in a battle with your own mind. When it's you against your same old ways, you are always going to lose. Thank you so much for being here. If you found this episode helpful, please share it. It helps get the word out and helps others in the midst of any money or business setback. And if you want more actionable strategies like this to transform your setback into opportunities, build confidence, and turn your financial dreams into a reality, head on over to hermoneycoach.com and sign up for my weekly newsletter. And remember, you have the power to change your financial future, and I'm here cheering you on every step of the way.